Okay, welcome to our Twitter training for climate advocates. I'm Stephanie Burns. I'm the state co-coordinator for Virginia for Citizens Climate Lobby. I'm a volunteer like all of you. I'm based in Arlington, Virginia, and I also lead the Alexandria chapter of CCL. And I've never hosted a training like this before, an in-depth training on Twitter, so bear with me if there are little kinks along the way. We're gonna kind of work through this together. For folks who are relatively new to Citizens Climate Lobby, our mission is to build the political will for a livable world. Our volunteers lobby Congress and build public support for federal climate policy. Specifically a bill called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, which is bill number HR 2307, so it was recently reintroduced. And it's a very ambitious bill. It would put the US on track to reach net zero CO2 emissions by 2050. And the bill is based on a very simple but powerful concept called carbon fee and dividend. Basically, the bill would put a rising fee on carbon pollution and divvy up the revenue from those fees and pay out a dividend to every household each month. And all are welcome here. We empower everyone in exercising their personal and political power, regardless of race, ethnicity, nationality, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, religion, ability, or political affiliation. So anyone who shares our mission is encouraged to join our team. What we'll cover today. So what makes Twitter different? Why is it worthwhile to use if you're a climate advocate? How do you create a Twitter account? How do you navigate and use Twitter? What strategies can climate advocates use on Twitter? And then finally, what are some limits and pitfalls of Twitter? But first, I'd love for folks to introduce yourselves in the chat. If you could share your name, your city, and what are you most interested in learning today? I will be right back as you type that in.
I'm Steve Selby in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I guess I just want to. I have a Twitter account, but I don't follow it very often. So I guess I want to figure out how to just be more effective.
Great.
Hello?
Stephanie,
Feel free to chime in if you'd like to.
we're supposed to do this orally, not by writing into the chat.
You can do
chat.
either. Feel free to chime in if you'd like.
Okay.
I'm Bill Baker. I've been involved with CCL for about 3 or 4 years. And I have a Twitter account, and I look at Twitter occasionally, but I just need to become more facile in using it.
Okay, great. I think that's the case for a lot of people. You know, people start an account and then they're not really sure what to do with it, or how to make the most of it.
That's exactly true. I'm Denny Phipps. I'm from Alexandria, Virginia, and I just need all the tools I can get a hold of that will help me advocate.
Awesome. Welcome. You're in the right place.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Steve Hendrickson, The Villages, Florida. Stephanie, I'm interested in, I meddle in Twitter a little bit, mostly to keep up on the news and what major personalities are saying or not. But I perceive it as a possible force multiplier. And so I don't know how to make it that. So that's what I'm here for.
Fantastic. Welcome, Steve.
I guess I'll go next. My name is John Cummer. I live in Frederick County, just outside of Winchester. The local chapter of CCL started up about a year ago, last summer. I forget which month. I've been part of it since then, but we're relatively new in learning things, and I'd just like to learn about how to handle Twitter with our CCL objectives.
Awesome. Welcome.
I'm Nancy Morgan. I'm in Alexandria, and I'm the coordinator for American Promise. I'm in Results. I'm committed to CCL, but I don't have a lot of time. But we have set up these Twitter accounts, and the question is, how do you amplify messages and get more retweets? That's the challenge for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I'll cover today is really applicable for all kinds of causes. So you can use this for CCL stuff. You can use this for other causes you care about too. And I actually have a little quick poll just to get a sense of everyone's experience
nice.
level here. Oh, feel free to chime in.
I'm Stan Rothbart, and I just got trained by Climate Reality, and they recommended that I sign up for your organization. I'm an advocate. I was the former IRS field manager, so I'm very familiar with taxation, and I'm looking forward to getting the carbon tax finally passed. They started out in 2009 with carbon taxes, but they never did anything to it. They sent it to the Finance Committee, and it sat there and did nothing. And now I'm looking forward to figure out how they're going to do the dividends, because as you know, dividends are back to you as a taxable event. So I'd like to know what they're going to do, and I'm very much interested in advocating to get this done.
Fantastic.
Stan, what is this organization called? Climate Reality, I believe you mentioned?
This is Al Gore's favorite project. He's training all
that's it.
kinds of wonderful people to get out to be
Pretty
leaders
cool. Okay,
and sign up and get things done. Like we have in Tampa right
Okay.
now, a toxic waste issue.
okay.
And I'm working with an environmental team on that, trying to get them to see what we can do with the phosphate industry, which is making good old Sarasota beaches, et cetera, with red tide. And we're trying to stop that because
Okay.
they kill the manatees, fisheries, et cetera,
Sure.
to answer your question.
Okay, I guess I've heard of Al Gore, the name, yeah.
Well, we're so glad you're here. So
Thank you.
if everyone, I posted in the chat a poll that I'd like everyone. Oh, Carol, yes, you have a.
Yeah, I'm Carol DiCaprio. I've been working with CCL for about 1.5 years now. And I have a Twitter account. I have 2 things I'd love to learn more about today. I find that in my limited experience, I have followers in 2 separate groups. I do volunteer work for climate and on another social issue, and we bounce around. So I would love to learn more about how to break out of my bubbles to the people who I really need to reach, which is the people who don't agree with me. And secondly, I would love to learn what your thoughts are, Stephanie, if you have any, about whether realistically Twitter actually affects the people most in power, our congressmen and our senators. What I have heard through the grapevine in my dealings with them is that they don't pay all that much attention, because, especially since they can't tell when they see a tweet what state it's from and district, and whether or not those folks really are their constituents.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, have you ever thought of LinkedIn?
Yes, so some of our volunteers use LinkedIn, and that's a handy tool, especially for grasstops outreach. So I'm gonna share my screen. These are great questions, Carol, and if I don't cover them, remind me later, okay? Because I have thoughts on both of those questions.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks. So I'm gonna going to exit out. And let's see. So in the chat, I posted a link to a poll. So if you could take that poll and just let me know, just so I have a sense of what everyone's experience level is with Twitter. Do you all see the link in there?
I don't see the link. I don't know where to click.
Okay.
Where do you click? Yeah.
Would someone mind reposting or copying and pasting the link to the poll in the chat, just so everyone can see it?
I clicked
See,
on
is
one,
there-
but it didn't do anything.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no, so do you see my screen now?
I see down below 4 votes for participants.
And if you click on chat, there is a link in the chat. And when I
Okay,
clicked
hang
on that,
I
it
gotta click
opened the
on
poll.
chat. So I'll say no.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm seeing some results coming in. Do you guys see my screen
None.
here? So you can see like what people are answering. So we have some folks. So we have folks in every category where people who have don't have an account yet, people who have very little experience, people who just sort of tweet infrequently, and then we have some very experienced tweeters here. So that's good. We've got a good mix. So I'm gonna go through, because we have some folks who don't have an account yet, I'm gonna go through pretty carefully with how to set up an account. And I will, and then for folks who are more experienced, feel free, I have a little task for you, so that while we're covering how to set up an account, you're not super bored or anything. So I will go back. Can everyone see my slides? Can you guys see my
Yes.
slides? Okay, great. So
Yes,
makes-
I can hear it.
okay, fantastic. Okay, so what makes Twitter different and why is it useful for climate advocacy? First, what is Twitter? It's a social media platform where people and organizations can publish and share short posts, so a maximum of 280 characters. Sometimes people refer to this as microblogging since it's like very short little blogs. In Twitter, posts are called tweets. You'll hear that terminology a lot. It's a little hard to get used to. So tweet, tweeting, retweeting. Just as a quick comparison to some other social media platforms that you might be familiar with, on Twitter, the folks that you're following and who are following you are typically people who have something in common with you. They might not have a lot in common with you, and chances are you haven't met them ever before. Most people I interact with on Twitter are total strangers, and some of them I don't even know who they are. So, so that's one thing that makes Twitter quite different than Facebook. I think it's fair to say on Facebook, people are mostly interacting with, keeping up with friends and family. Instagram is sort of a mix. I'm not an Instagram expert, but that's my impression, that it's sort of a mix of friends and family, and then also people who share similar interests. And Twitter is very short posts. Facebook, the post length can vary a lot. Instagram is very focused on photos and video. With captions, the text is sort of less important on Instagram. And you can post photos and video on Facebook and Twitter, but it's not sort of the main focus. And then the typical frequency of posts is quite different on Twitter. So I think it's very rare that somebody tweets too much. You can basically tweet to your heart's content and people don't find it too annoying. Whereas on Facebook and Instagram, you kind of don't want to post too often. I think I've heard the ideal frequency on Facebook is once per day. On Instagram, you want to do once per day or less, and you can actually it's called getting shadow banned on Instagram if you post too much. So that's one way that Twitter is very different from other social media platforms. People are encouraged to tweet more and produce more content. Things that happen on Twitter can have really far-reaching impacts. So just as an example, the Me Too movement actually started in 2006 by a woman named Tarana Burke, but it became this huge nationwide movement in 2017 just because of this tweet here from this actress Alyssa Milano. She tweeted this, and then people started sharing their stories. So that was that just shows you just how, even though Twitter might seem kind of frivolous and silly sometimes, the things that happen there have real world impacts. And activists have really leveraged Twitter to build global movements. So, you know, we all are familiar with Greta Thunberg. She has built up a huge Twitter following, and she uses her platform on Twitter to promote climate strike protests around the world. So you can imagine, like, you know, I've seen huge protests in DC that barely get any attention, right? But a small protest that happens in Sierra Leone, you know, a student tweets and tags Greta in her tweet, and Greta retweets her. You know, suddenly that small protest becomes something the whole world knows about. And, you know, so it really shows you how powerful the tool is in terms of connecting people and bringing attention, uplifting people's stories around the world, people who might not get attention by the press, you know, historically. So what are the advantages of Twitter? Information can travel very quickly because tweets are easy to consume and share, and there are a lot of them. Influential people engage with each other on Twitter, so pretty much, you know, every politician, reporter, activist, you know, a huge community of people who care about issues are on Twitter. It's easy to see what topics are trending. I think a lot of people are drawn to Twitter because they're curious what things are on people's minds, and you can kind of get an impression or sometimes an illusion of what's popular on Twitter. And finally, it's easy to communicate with people in real time on Twitter, and you can connect with people who share your interests around the world. So, you know, I've had chats with like people in Germany, you know, people have only met through Twitter, you know, just in real time, which is pretty amazing. So Twitter is useful for climate advocacy, even if you don't have a big following. So even if you're not Greta Thunberg, you can still have an impact using Twitter. So in CCL, we have what we call our 5 levers of political will. So one lever is lobbying Congress. You can tweet at your members of Congress on Twitter. You can engage with the press. You can do grassroots outreach and spread your message. You can do grassroots engagement as well and network with potential partners. And you can also just do, you know, recruit new volunteers and really cheer on and build some team spirit among your volunteers on Twitter. So how do you create a Twitter account? So I know, I think most people here already have a Twitter account. So what I'd like you to do while I'm going through this section is, I'd like you to make a list of your hobbies or interests. And for each hobby or interest that you have, I'd like you to brainstorm some keywords that relate to that hobby. For example, if you're a big fan of a sports team, I want, you know, a search term would be just the sports team's name. And I want you to do a search of Twitter of recent tweets that contain your search terms. And, you know, pay attention, do the people who tweet about that topic use any particular hashtags? So for example, Beyonce fans, they use the hashtag Bayhive. So you might notice, you know, people who are interested in things that you're interested in are using particular hashtags that you should be following. And then I'd like you to just scroll through your search results and like and follow any accounts that interest you, that seem to be kind of aligned with your interests. So that's what you can be doing while we go through how to set up, how to create a Twitter account. So the first step in creating an account is to download the app, or you can, onto your phone or whatever device you prefer, you can go to Twitter. If you don't want to use it on your phone or device, you can open up a window on your desktop and go to twitter.com and set up an account from there. So I'll kind of give a moment in case anybody needs to download the app. Okay. So to create your account, you'll enter your name, or there are a lot of people who use Twitter anonymously. You can enter some pseudonym if you want. You know, of course, it's more powerful if you have your real name on there. But if you're uncomfortable with that, that's okay. You can put, ballet fan. People come up with all kinds of funny things on Twitter. And you need to sign up with your phone or an email address. And then Twitter also requires your date of birth, but they don't, post that publicly. It's just information they need from you. So I will give that a moment in case anyone needs to fill out their account.
So Stephanie.
Sure.
Hi.
Hey.
I was thinking about creating, so I'm totally new to Twitter. And I was thinking about starting a Twitter account for CCL Charlottesville.
Cool.
Should do you, Carol's clapping. She's been encouraging me to do this for a long time. Do you think I should use like my CCL Gmail account to sign up, or should I use my personal email? Like, what do you?
I think like you can use your, I guess if it's a chapter account, you can do your whatever email you use for the chapter, but it really doesn't matter too much. You can change it later if you need to.
Like if I use my personal email, would it prevent me from creating a personal account at a later time?
Yeah, it might, you might need to like create like another email account to create your own personal account if you use, so it is, you can only have like one account per email address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a good consideration. So when you fill all that in, you're gonna get Twitter's gonna ask you if you want to customize your experience. I just generally uncheck this box because I don't, I just don't think it's necessary. But if you feel comfortable with it, you can leave it checked, and just hit next. So then once you do that, the next step will be that Twitter will email or text you a verification code. So depending on if you put in a phone number or an email address, they're gonna send you a code by text or email, depending on how you signed up. So just enter the verification code in this window. And is anyone kind of following along these steps and need me to pause so you can?
You have to be on 13.4 on your phone in order to bring Twitter in on an app. And most people are not on 13.4.
Oh, that's strange that it
They
won't let
just
you.
told me that just now.
Okay, maybe try signing up on your browser.
I signed up on iTunes with the app,
Okay.
and that's the easy way. But I've got to now go to update the system.
Okay. Well, if folks need me to pause at any point, or slow down, just let me know. Feel free to chime in. So,
Now, my phone will only give me 12.5.3. I
okay,
can't use that on the phone,
okay,
with the phone that I own.
okay. Maybe, for now, maybe just try using it in your browser.
Okay.
So that should work just fine. So what you'll need to create a password that's 8 characters or more.
Browser. You don't want to lose your screen.
And then this next step is to pick a profile picture, and you can do this later if you don't have a picture handy. So you can click skip for now. But yeah, if you have a picture that you want to use, feel free to pop that in.
My iPad.
Okay, so then the next step is they're going to ask you to write a short bio for yourself. You can also click skip for now, or if you kind of know exactly what you want to say, you can feel free to type that in now.
We're using the iPad. It's got a higher software.
Okay, great. Okay, and then once you fill out your bio, Twitter will ask if you want to search your address book, kind of sync your address book with Twitter to they can check if anyone you know is on Twitter. I recommend not doing this now. You can, I don't know how long it takes, so I would just not do that now. And then I also feel awkward about giving Twitter my access to my address book. So
Now we're on Twitter.
something I generally don't do. But can click not now. And then Twitter will give present you with topics that you could follow, that you might be interested in. You don't have to select any of these, but if you think some of these fit your interest, click the plus sign on them. So I guess viral tweets or tweets that have gotten a lot of likes and retweets. And I don't know how they identified funny tweets. I'm very curious what algorithms they use to identify some of these topics. And then once you're done with that, they'll suggest some Twitter accounts to follow. You don't have to follow any of them, but if any of them strike your fancy, go ahead and follow them. A lot of people, follow the president, and amazing. Curious, how Elon Musk ended up as the top suggestion. So, above President Biden. It's kind of funny. So once you've done that, now you have an account. And you're gonna see, I think the first thing that you see is your home screen. And this is, but let's finish kind of setting you up first before we get into tweeting. So click those 3 bars at the top, on the top left there, that's circled in red. So that's gonna pull up a menu. So this is your kind of main menu when you click those bars. So I'd like you to click on that settings and privacy button. So once you're in the settings and privacy menu, you can click on the account menu. So in this account menu, this is where you can change. So when you signed up for Twitter, Twitter gave you like a weird username probably based on what you typed as your name. So I tested this out. I put in my name and it kind of truncated my name and then put a bunch of numbers at the end. So you can change this to something more intelligible, something more fun here. So this is where you can kind of adjust some of your account settings. And then I'd like you to go back to your settings and privacy menu, and then I'd like you to click on privacy and safety. So this is where a lot of important settings are to make sure that you know, your account, that, you know, private information isn't being shared with people you don't want to share it with. So click on that privacy and safety menu, and this is what the menu looks like. So you may want to change some of these settings. I don't recommend protecting your tweets, because if you are new to Twitter, people are not going to be able to find you if you protect your tweets, because you can follow other people, you can look at tweets, but people aren't going to be able to see you or what you're tweeting. So I don't recommend clicking that protect your tweets setting. But you know, you might want to change things. So you might want to make it so no one can tag you in a photo. You might want to one big one, like if you want to be anonymous on Twitter, you'll want to change your discoverability settings so that people can't look you up with your email address.
What do you recommend?
I mean, it really depends. If you want people to be able to find you with your email, then you can leave it, you know, you can leave the default settings. If you want to be anonymous, or you just like are a very private person and just don't want people looking up, trying to find you on Twitter, then making it so you're not discoverable might be important to you. So it's really up to you. But yeah, if you want to be more anonymous on Twitter, you'll definitely want to uncheck the discoverability.
You.
All right. So any questions about the setup before we move on?
Oh, we're hooked up.
Okay. Sounds like we're good. Great. So now hopefully everyone has a Twitter account now. So how do you, now that you've got this handy dandy account, how do you navigate and actually use Twitter? So first, when you open Twitter, the first thing you see is your home timeline. This is, if you scroll through this timeline, it's showing you tweets from accounts you follow. if your account is new or if you're not following many people, then there might not be very much in your home timeline right now. So this is what a tweet looks like. So this is a tweet from WTAJ News, and you can like the tweet, you can retweet it, or you can quote tweet it. Retweeting and quote tweeting, it's basically sharing the tweet with your followers. Quote tweeting, it's like it looks like you write a little message on top of their tweet, like, wow, isn't this amazing? And then it'll have the tweet under your like, isn't this amazing tweet? So basically it's a way to share the tweet with your followers. You can reply to the tweet as well. So if you want to write a tweet, you just click on this plus sign. If you want to search Twitter, you click on the magnifying glass at the bottom. So you can search for whatever people are tweeting about at any given moment, which is really cool. If you ever want to get back to this home timeline page, you just click home time, the little house button at the bottom. To see if people are liking your tweets, retweeting you, replying to you, you're gonna get a notification for that. To see your notifications, you click on this bell button at the bottom. And then people can send you direct messages. Like, I think depending on what your settings are, if you're allowing people to send you direct messages, you click on this envelope to kind of see your direct messages. And these are private. So unlike tweets, direct messages can only be seen by you and whoever sent it to you, or whoever, like, there can be multiple people in a direct message chat. But tweets are public, so everyone can see those. So that's a
Now, I have a question.
Sure.
I don't see a magnifying glass bell. What I see is well, it says reply when I highlight it. One is retweet. Another shows a heart. It's like. And then another one shows share.
Okay. So those options that you're seeing, those are for a particular tweet. So maybe you may have clicked on the tweet, so it kind of enlarged it and hid some of your other settings. So maybe if you hit back, you might get back to, you might see your.
Let me try.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Stephanie,
Yes.
on the laptop, it's on the left-hand side, all the symbols.
Right. It's
Which
going to
are
look a bit
referring
different in your browser. Yeah.
Right, so you can use the symbols on the laptop on the left side for the house and so on to zero in on what you're saying, correct?
You can use the house. If you click on the house, it'll take you back to this timeline screen, so you can look at what people you're following or tweeting about.
And I've got movies, all kinds of movies on mine, but that's another story.
Okay. Well, for some reason, Twitter is showing you, it could be promoted tweets there. You'll see ads on Twitter as well, where, maybe they're advertising movies or something. So, and then at the top here, if you're using the app, there's this new feature called Fleets. I'm not really gonna cover it today, but these are posts that disappear after 24 hours. I don't use it. I'm not sure how useful it is, so I'm not, but you can try it out and see how you like it. So moving along. So when you click this plus sign, you're gonna see this menu, and there's this also a brand new feature that was just rolled out called Spaces. I'm not gonna cover it today, but basically it allows you to have verbal conversations with people. So it's an audio feature, which is pretty amazing, but it also kind of feels like a conference call. I listened in on one of these and I was like, this feels like a conference call. You know,
Are they trying to be like what's that new app?
yeah, it is a lot like
Uh,
Clubhouse.
Yeah, Clubhouse. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, which is another social media platform. So I think they're trying to kind of copy Clubhouse a little bit with this feature. It could be cool. Like we could come up with some creative ways to use this new feature, but let's just stick to the basics today. So to compose a tweet, you're gonna click this quill symbol. So this is what a Twitter profile looks like. So this is our CCL Virginia profile, and our handle is at @CCL_Virginia. The CCL Virginia is our display name, and we can change this as often as we like. Some people get really funny with their display names and they put, you know, all kinds of things in there. Some people put their cause like in their display name, like, you know, Stephanie wants a price on carbon, you know, something, people kind of do all kinds of things in there. And then this is our handle. So it's at CCL_Virginia. So all handles start with that @ symbol. And Twitter calls this, in Twitter, this is called a handle, and it's basically just our username. We can change this whenever we want, but that would probably be pretty confusing for our followers because they wouldn't recognize us anymore. So that's something you don't want to change too often. So pick something you're happy with and try to stick with it. And then you can, when you go to our profile, you can see everything that we've tweeted, everything we've retweeted and liked and replied to. You can basically see everything we've done on Twitter. So the first task I'd like everyone to do is if you could go to our CCL Virginia profile and follow us, we're going to follow you back. And the way to do this is to click on that magnifying glass and search for at CCL_Virginia.
We picked up Virginia CCL and got Mark Herring. Is that where you want me to be? For Mark Herring?
So when you do the search, type in at the @ symbol CCL_Virginia, and then that should take you to
It did.
our profile.
I've got a picture of the Energy Innovation Act that you just showed.
Does it?
Powering America Forward.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, you're able to find it?
That's what you want me to be on.
Okay.
Katie Hale Wilson, People, Virginia, Cleaver, Snow. Picture of some boys in a club or something. Whatever.
Okay, I'm following back folks who are following
So
following this.
Stephanie, can you, where do you see who is following you?
Oh, so if you go to your profile and you click on, you can look at your own profile even and click on followers. So you can And actually, let me show you, just in case anyone's having trouble with this first task. Let me exit out of here and just show you, like, okay, so this is our Virginia Twitter account. So let's say I want to go to, let's say I want to go to search for Citizens Climate Lobby. I mean, it was like the first result that came up, but just for demonstration purposes, let's say I want to find the profile of Citizens Climate Lobby. I type in their handle. So, and I see as like a first result, this tweet by Citizens Climate Lobby. So I can click on their handle and go right to their profile. And then I'm already following them, but if I want to follow them, I can follow them here, and just like see other, see what they're tweeting about. Oh, this is happening today, actually. If you're not CCL'd out today, there's at 1 p.m. there's going to be our national call is happening today. So, and then the browser version looks a little different than the app version. So if I want to go back to my home timeline, I click on home right here and just see, what people are tweeting about that I follow. Okay. So is everyone able to find our CCL Virginia profile?
What's the search name? What's the search name to put in?
So if you search for @CCL_Virginia.
It doesn't do it.
Let's see. Hold on.
CCL. Oh, there it is. Okay, just a sec. Got it. Thank you for putting that up there.
Hi, Stephanie. This
Hi.
is Monica. Can you tell if I'm following you? Because I just changed my username.
Janu, what's your username?
@Modemolu.
Oh, I see an @Monica Modemolu.
Gosh,
Right.
that was years ago.
Oh,
And I just now tried to change it and it gave me the auto-generated thing at Monica, 8754777. So I just tried to change it to @Modemolu. Well,
I don't know. For some reason that change didn't take. I don't know why.
okay. Well, I'm following you. I'm just I'm gonna keep listening on to what you're saying, but I might have a little problem I need to figure out.
Okay, no problem. We'll try to figure it out. I can help you after the training too. Okay, cool. So hopefully everyone feels sort of is getting comfortable with that search feature. So what does it look like to compose a tweet? So there's a 280 character limit, but a tweet can include links, photos, videos, other handles for other for people's accounts, emojis, GIFs, hashtags, and quote tweets. So really you can pack a lot into a tweet. So even though it's 280 characters, you can put a lot in there. So in this example, there's a hashtag. So I've put in this hashtag, hashtag climate Twitter training. So these hashtags are helpful for, you know, basically like indexing your tweets, like so you can find them really easily, and you can find other people who are using the same hashtag. You can click on that and see everybody who has used that hashtag. And this tweet is asking me, this is my personal Twitter account, is @StephForSerious. Feel free to follow me, I'll follow you back. And by including this in the tweet, I'll get a notification when the tweet is sent that I was mentioned in this tweet. And this is called, so this tweet tags me because it puts my username in there. You can, if you want to add a video or a photo to this tweet, you can click this button to access your, you know, your photo image files. If you want to add a GIF, you can click on this button. So GIFs are like cute little animated images. They don't have any sound, and they can really add a lot of fun and humor to a tweet. So I love them a lot. You can even put a poll in your tweet. So you can ask your followers, you know, kind of funny questions or serious questions. And people can take your poll and see the results after, you know, after they take the poll. So, you know, what if there's a lot you want to say that's not going to fit into one little tweet? Well, there's sort of a way to get around that, but you can create what Twitter calls a thread, and that's a series of tweets that are linked, so that when you click on one tweet, you can see any tweets that are linked to it. To create a thread, it's pretty simple. So you write your first tweet and you're like, well, I want to write more. So you click that plus sign, and then you can start writing a second tweet that's going to be linked to that first tweet. And you can do that pretty much as you want to write a really long thread if you want. So the second task that I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write a tweet that includes this hashtag. Hashtag climate Twitter training. So feel free to have fun with it. You know, you can toss a GIF in there if you want. So how do you compose a tweet? You hit that big like plus sign button, and then you go hit the quill button, and then you write your tweet, and you just type in this hashtag climate Twitter training. And I checked it yesterday and no one has ever used this hashtag before. So I think we're the only ones. So we should be able to find each other pretty easily. And I will do this too. So I'll show you what it looks like.
Do we need to do capital letters?
I don't think it's case sensitive, so I don't think it matters how you capitalize it. So I'm gonna tweet, we're hosting a climate Twitter training right now. And I'm gonna put this like eyes emoji. I'm gonna put a GIF in there, and I'll just say like teacher, and you can see like all these funny little animated things. You know, they're little short videos that kind of express emotion or joke or, you know, I'm a nerd. I'm gonna put a Yoda GIF in there. So I think this looks all right for right now. Okay, so I'm gonna hit tweet on that. So now the whole world can see this. And if I go to my profile, so this is our CCL Virginia profile, it'll show up right there on our list of tweets. Cool. So how are you guys feeling about composing your tweets right now?
Stephanie, if I put in @Stephanie Burns, if I tag you, you will get that in your notification, your personal Twitter notification.
Yeah, you can feel free to do that.
So Stephanie, when I type in about climate Twitter training, the last N and G are not blue. Does that like?
Oh, that's
Maybe I'll just try
interesting.
again.
It could just be like a little glitchy for some reason, but let's see. So I can click on that.
I just didn't want it to mess up. I just didn't want it to mess up the hash or the tag or the.
Like, oh yeah, I mean, it's probably right as long as it's all one, as long as there's no spaces in it, I think it should be okay. It might just not be, for some reason, your app might not be highlighting it. Okay, so I can see you guys are doing some awesome tweets with the hashtag. I'm gonna just like go and like them all. Okay, I shouldn't like myself. Oh, I see you, Monica. Okay. Yes, this was fixed. Okay, I don't know why I wasn't able, maybe I typed it in wrong when I tried to look for you. So excellent. And
Did
then
you see mine, Stephanie?
let's refresh here. Climate Twitter training. No, maybe it's not showing up for some reason.
Well, it makes me wonder if my. Oh, you know what I did? I put about instead of hashtag.
Oh, okay. So okay, that makes sense.
Oh, can I edit my tweet?
You can't, but feel free to delete it and just like tweet something.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the annoying thing with Twitter. Once it's out there, you can't edit it, which usually is okay. It's not a big deal to delete something and then tweet it again. But if you've tweeted something and like people have already started liking it and retweeting it and stuff, then it's annoying to be like, you know, having to delete it. Or having to be like awkwardly like, I messed up. So you can see here that, you know, our notifications, which, so anytime someone mentions us or likes what we're doing, it's gonna show up in here. Okay, so good, I'm following you, Monica. All right, so, and then to go back to my timeline, I just hit that home button to see like what people I'm following or tweeting about. Excellent.
Mine says, "What's happening?" on my iPad. Is that good for tweeting?
What's that? Oh yeah, so if you click on that, you can, this is kind of just a shortcut way to start tweeting. So you can.
Because I went to "What's happening" and then put it in and send it out.
That works too. So that's how one way the browser is a little bit different
Okay.
than the app version. So you can just directly compose a tweet right here. And then I think a lot of you are doing this already, but go and like click on that climate Twitter training hashtag and like every tweet that you can find that includes the hashtag. So I did that already. So let's say I want to go search climate. I guess the cases doesn't matter, but climate Twitter training. I want to see all the tweets. So hit like on all of these. Yes, nice. Oh my gosh. Okay, gonna follow you. Follow our Charlottesville friends.
So Stephanie, I don't understand. You just go, you highlight it and you go like, and then what does it do?
So what does it do to like when you hit like?
Yeah, when you go, you highlight that and then you go like, and then what does it do?
So when you hit like, it just is a way to kind of amplify the tweet and kind of show that it's popular and
A thumbs up.
Oh, I see, but I'm not finding out, I'm not following people who put that climate change training.
oh yeah, so you can, even if you're not following folks, you can see their tweets. So if you, there are a few ways you can see everybody who's using this hashtag. So you can just, if you see a tweet with the hashtag in it, you can just like click that hashtag and it's going to show you all the tweets that have that hashtag in it, even if you're not following them. Or you can like do a search, or you can just go into that, hit the magnifying glass and do a search for the hashtag. So let me, just to give you another example, like I want to see who on earth is tweeting the hashtag climate action.
You want to tweet climate action?
So you don't have to do this now, but I'm just, as an example, like I can look up who all is tweeting with this hashtag right now. I can hit this latest button and literally see it, like the latest tweets that use this hashtag in it.
I got it.
Which is really powerful and cool because then you can, just get a sense of who on earth is, cares about this issue the same way I do.
On climate Twitter training that we tweeted to you, there's a great cartoon about the planet getting destroyed. If you go further down, you could use that if you follow it. It's got Yoda in front of it. Then it comes up with this cartoon, which is rather clever.
Cool. All right.
Should we be, I have a question about the little conversation balloon for commenting and making remarks. Do people do that on Twitter, or is it best not to?
People do that. It's often people, actually Twitter is very conversational. So so if you have like a question, or you just want to say something nice, or sometimes people say something not nice. It's there's a lot of interaction that happens on Twitter, so you can feel free to reply. Now, my recommendation though, if you're gonna reply to someone's tweet, if you like their tweet, hit the like button before you reply to it, because if you reply to something without liking it, that implies that you don't like it. It makes their stats look bad. So hit the like button before replying to something.
Okay.
Stephanie, could I ask a question? How do you change my hashtag is part of my name with about 8 digits behind it. How do you make it something simple that you can remember?
Oh yeah, so just to go back here in our setup, hold on. So if you go into your settings menu and let's see here. Okay, so you will go, you're gonna click on the menu and you're gonna go to your settings and privacy menu. If you go into account, you click on account. This is your account settings. You can change your username here in your account settings. So you can change it to something more memorable, something that makes more sense to you.
Let's see, account settings. I have profile.
So the way you get to your account settings is you go to, so if you're in the app, it's gonna look like this 3-bar thing. So you click on that, and then you're gonna see this menu pop up. You click on settings and privacy.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then you click on account. And then you click on, you can change your username from the account.
I just have confirm your password. That's all.
Okay. I'll help you after the training with this.
Okay, okay. Okay. No problem.
So that you can change it. We'll figure out, maybe your app is a little bit different than mine. Okay, cool. So we did task 3. Now, it's fun to see what's trending at any given moment. And to see what's trending, you click on that magnifying glass and you hit the trending button at the top here. And you can see what's going on, what people are tweeting about. And sometimes people get very freaked out if an elderly actor's name is tweeting or is trending. People have a mini panic that something bad has happened. But then are relieved that it's like, oh, it's Betty White's birthday today. Okay, if a tweet is controversial, it might get what we call ratioed, where there are more replies than likes or retweets. So this is an example, something about this tweet is controversial that maybe people didn't like, and it got a lot more replies than likes. And this is actually something like people, I think some politicians, they may not like to admit it, but they do get a little nervous about being ratioed. They don't want to look bad. Any questions about anything we just covered here?
So do you have to make do you have to actually make a comment in the reply if you dislike something?
Yeah, like sometimes people are a little funny and they're just like, I'm just here for the ratio. Okay. And they're like, just admitting like, I'm just here to make your stats look bad. But you can, yeah, you have to type in something, whether it's a GIF or, whatever you want.
Okay.
Hey, Emily, I just commented on your tweet. I think I tried to. Do you see it?
That's so exciting. It's my first comment.
I know. I'm so clever. I said, may the odds be ever in our favor.
Nice.
May the force be with you.
Right? And you could tweet back something like, well, let's lower the emissions or something.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You can really have fun with it. And really Twitter is better when it's fun. You don't, if you feel like depressed or stressed when you use Twitter, that's not a good sign. So, definitely try to have fun with it.
Stephanie, can Twitter bring up Wikipedia?
I mean, you can include links to Wikipedia pages if you want in your tweets.
Reason I say that, it's got the Carbon Act in it, that there's, 23, whatever number that is for the
Okay.
House.
Yeah,
And it
we
gives a
often,
historical perspective.
yeah, we often will link to like information about the bill in our tweets. So that's good. So including links to important information is a great way to use Twitter.
And you load slides on Twitter, like from Gore has his slides that we had in climate reality training, which take about 10 minutes that we could put on a post and send out. Can that be done on Twitter like it could be done on LinkedIn?
You can do I mean, you can include like sort of a link. You mean to like download the slides?
Yeah, we would download them from our Hub Reality, which is what we had, they're on, with Gore's presentation. And we can send them out on the internet, so to speak, as a virtual, when we're giving a presentation. Can we do that with Twitter, or do we need to use a different social media source?
I mean, as long as if there's some link to the slides or something, you can include a link in your tweet.
And you can,
So
would it show the slides? Pardon me for interrupting.
Oh, if you want to show, like, you could create a video that goes through the slides and tweet that. You could, just take an image of a slide and tweet that. So there are probably different ways you could try doing that. I'm not sure what it looks like on LinkedIn, so I'm not sure if you can like exactly replicate what you do there.
Okay.
Stephanie, we're getting into questions about using Twitter to send out articles, cartoons, media pieces, slides, blah, 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 that we see elsewhere. Do you happen to know, and you may not, whether or not the question of copyright comes in? Should we be worried that we're sharing things that legally we shouldn't be?
They'll
Yeah.
tell you when you're doing it.
Yeah,
They'll inform you about that.
I think that, you'll just want to be careful, like if, if those slides are proprietary, you may not want to share them. Just, I think kind of the same judgment you would use for any other thing, you'll want to use on Twitter. I will say people are a little bit freewheeling on Twitter with sharing things. So, the policing of copyright might not, I don't know. I've never come across that issue, but
Yeah.
But definitely use good judgment and try to keep it legal.
Right.
So,
right.
So now that we kind of know how to navigate Twitter and use some of the features on there, let's talk about strategy. What strategies can we as climate advocates, or really advocates of any cause, use Twitter for? So the first strategy I want to talk about is building a community and a sense of community, which I think go hand in hand. So a lot of people, they join Twitter and they, kind of tweet out their opinions, and they just their message doesn't get, much traction. They don't get many likes or any likes, and that it can feel very lonely, and people just don't know really how to use it. So the key here is that the way you gain traction on Twitter is to build a strong community of people around you who share your interests or goals. And communities organically form on Twitter as people who have similar interests tend to follow each other and cluster together. So Twitter is going to roll out some sort of formal community feature. I don't know what that will look like yet, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm using the term community in sort of a more informal way. It's not a feature, but it's just this natural thing that happens as people follow each other. So members of a community can lift each other up and amplify each other's messages, so a message can travel much further. And we do have, like, Twitter has communities of climate advocates who follow each other. And the challenge is to really strengthen those communities and grow them. So in my opinion, what makes a healthy Twitter community, you want like a diverse group of people to come together around something they're all passionate about. And for the community to be healthy, like, people need to engage with each other authentically and bring their own unique perspective and personality to the conversation. And then members of the community need to feel supported, heard, and appreciated. They need to feel like they belong and like that people are listening to them. So a healthy Twitter community just sort of naturally draws people in. People want to feel a sense of belonging, and they want to feel like they're a part of a really welcoming group. So if we create like the best, the happiest, the most fun, the most interesting CCL Twitter community, then people will kind of want to join us because they're like, wow, that looks like a cool group of people who are going to be, really welcoming to me. But, if a community is composed of Twitter accounts that all kind of look and sound the same, that's not going to draw people in. They don't really feel like they'll fit in with that community, right? So, and I'll say it's hard to build a community with just official accounts. So like, we have our CCL Virginia account, and and CCL has like a lot of chapter accounts, which is great. Chapter accounts are important. But when you're tweeting as a chapter, it's hard to engage with people as authentically as you would as just yourself, right? Because when I'm managing our CCL Virginia account, there are a lot of things I can't say that I would personally want to say, because I have to represent the whole, organization. So that's, I have my personal account, so I can be myself and I can have more authentic interactions with people because I can, share my real, like my full opinions about things. And say things that I wouldn't say on our chapter account. So I think we need like we need both of these, and we need right now we have a lot of chapter accounts, so we need more individual volunteers using their personal accounts so that they can use their personalities and their interests to reach more people and new people.
Stephanie, do you use your personal account to retweet or comment on things that you post through the CCL Virginia account?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And how do you manage having two accounts like on the same device? Is it easy to like toggle between your user names, or is that something that you have to do on your computer? Like, how do you manage that?
Oh, you can actually have multiple in your app. You can actually be logged into multiple accounts at once, and you can toggle between them.
Okay.
So you'll see an option like add existing account, and then you can. So they all are like linked to different email addresses and things, but you still have access to them all.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is very easy to manage multiple accounts at once. So, you might be wondering, like, all this talk about community is nice, but what does that really mean in terms of how do you use Twitter? So the one thing you want to do to build and expand and strengthen your community is to search for people out there who share your cause or might be sympathetic to your cause. And to do that, use that search function. look for people who are talking about climate or, other keywords that are related to your cause. Sometimes I look up like carbon pricing, who's tweeting about carbon pricing, or who's tweeting about, carbon price or whatever. So then when you get the search results and you see like, what are people saying about climate? And then find, maybe there's somebody out there who's saying like, I'm really worried about climate and I don't know what to do about it. You can, like their tweet, and follow them and say, oh, I feel you. I'm worried about climate change too. I volunteer with this organization called Citizens Climate Lobby. And then like, maybe they've never heard of CCL before. Or maybe they're not ready to join CCL, but maybe they'll follow you back. And they'll, just by following you, they'll learn more about CCL. So that's one way to build up your community, because there are a lot of people out there who, share, are interested in the same things you are, but they just don't know that there's a group of people who also, that's, are organized out there, that they can, join. And so go look for those people and build connections with them and bring them into the fold. So one tip I have is like, I wouldn't be too picky about which accounts you follow. Like some people like only follow famous people, but you're not going to build up a community if you do that. You really need to follow, try to find, often the best people to follow are like the people who have few followers. Because they appreciate it even more when you like their tweets, because they don't have many followers, and they really appreciate that you're listening to them. And I personally try to follow every single CCL volunteer that I can find on Twitter. I try to follow anyone who seems open to our cause, anyone who is kind of advocating for similar things that we're advocating for. And if somebody follows me, I generally try to follow them back. So unless it's obvious that they're not a real person, so there are a lot of bots on Twitter, and there are different like ways you can. I think there are some websites where you can try to check if somebody is a bot. But you can kind of visually see, like, are they just like repetitively tweeting a particular message, or do they just like not seem like an actual human being? Are they trying, I don't follow people back if it's obvious they're trying to sell something that I don't want, or if they're spreading misinformation or conspiracy theories. You want to steer clear of those accounts.
Stephanie?
Oh,
Sure.
When you say that you try to follow every single CCL volunteer, I'm just curious, to do that, what's the best way to find them? In other words, if I search on CCL, will that search engine search not just their hashtags and their handles, or also will it also search their descriptions of themselves, their profiles?
That's a good question. I think you might be able to find people, like you might be, if you type in like Citizens Climate Lobby, you might be able to find people who are associated with Citizens Climate Lobby. But honestly, the easiest way to find other CCL volunteers on Twitter is to look at who's liking CCL's tweets. You can click on, actually, I can just show you right now. So like if I click on CCL's profile, I look at, okay, there was this tweet they did on April 1st when the bill was reintroduced. I can see like who's liked this tweet.
Oh.
And I will just So here are a lot of people that I could be following.
Oh, you
who-
woke me up. You woke me up.
So that's one really easy way. CCL also uses a hashtag. So grassroots climate is a common one that we use. So you can look up like who's tweeting with this hashtag, and then, you know, chances are they're a CCL volunteer. Price on pollution is another hashtag that we use a lot. So I can see, you know, who's tweeting this. So Chris is my co-coordinator. So yeah, these are some handy ways to find other CCL volunteers.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
Stephanie, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering, Stephanie, is there a ratio between followers and who is following you and who you're following? Because a colleague said she was following too many people and she got sort of stuck. Is there an algorithm that sort of limits you in terms of that ratio?
I haven't personally noticed that. Like, I generally don't worry about that too much. Though, if like, it can be annoying if you followed people and then after a while they just have never followed you back. So you might want to every now and then just kind of purge. Like, if they just like generally don't seem interested in what you're doing, then you might want to kind of shed some of those people you're following. But for the most part, I don't worry about it. My feeling is just like follow, you know, be kind of generous with following people.
Stephanie, I got two bells that rang on my iPad. One is an annoyed PhD, says climate time is now the time to do something. And
Oh,
then I got
nice.
a follow that says there. So if I want to sit back and talk to that person, I click on follow, correct?
Yeah, you can follow them
Put my
back.
tweet in and talk to that person.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the best way to connect with them, I guess. I press on
Yeah,
the
like
follow.
you follow each other. If you want to, they've tweeted something interesting, you can you know, like it and reply to it, and you know, have a discussion about it if you want.
It's a Rocky Mountain biker that sent me that.
Oh, nice.
Stephanie, how effective is Twitter on dealing with your federal representative and senators?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'll sort of get into this a little bit. It's it sort of has subtle effects. So like, you want to show that if they tweet something nice about CCL or like about the bill, we want to like, you know, we want to show them a lot of love on that tweet. If, you know, if they tweet something nice about us and then they don't get any likes on it, then it kind of looks like, you know, we're not a big grassroots group and, you know, our ideas aren't very popular, you know, that it kind of gives that impression. So I think you just kind of want to create this, like, you know, kind of show them like we are like a big grassroots group where, you know, our people like our ideas. So that's kind of one way you sort of influence. Another way you influence is, I mean, you can sort of, sometimes they'll reply to you. Sometimes some members of Congress pay really close attention to their Twitter accounts. We once, so Denver Riggleman was a congressman in Virginia, Republican congressman. He's not in Congress anymore. But when he first got into Congress, he tweeted something about bipartisanship, like that bipartisanship was important to him. We replied to him and we said, you know, oh, we're so glad, we'd love to work with you on bipartisan solutions to climate change. He actually replied to our tweet and said, great, call my office and let's schedule a meeting. And we were amazed. We didn't know how serious he was, but the Monday morning, we called his office to schedule something, and his staff was like, "Oh yeah, we were waiting you. We were expecting you," because they saw his tweet, and we got a meeting like that week. So that that really shows you like some of these members of Congress are really paying a lot of attention to Twitter.
You find the congressman is on Twitter.
How do you
Oh.
find most members of Congress are on Twitter, though it's sometimes a little hard to tell who is really, like, do they have a staffer managing their Twitter account, or are they the ones tweeting? That's a little harder to tell sometimes. But yeah, definitely look up your representatives and follow them on Twitter.
For their name and look and see if they have a Twitter account.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Okay.
like do a search for their name, and you'll see most of these accounts, most of these members of Congress have like a little blue check mark next to their name. That means they've been verified, like their identity has been verified on Twitter. So those are usually the ones that you want to follow.
So from a marketing perspective, we're going to send postcards out to Biden on the carbon tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be good to take a picture of this postcard, put it on Twitter, and attack all your wonderful congressmen with it, rather than just mail it out. You'll probably get more of an exposure. What do you think?
That's a great idea. Like a lot of folks have been tweeting their postcards. So yeah, get creative with it. Tweet like, any content you create in the real world can probably be something you post on Twitter. So definitely go for it. So one thing, when you're building a community of supporters, you want to, engage them and give them validation. Even when they tweet about things that aren't related to climate change, show them that you care about them and that you're listening. That's going to build stronger bonds between you and the people you're following and people who are following you. So, like their tweets, retweet them, give them messages of support. And, when you like other people's tweets, they're more likely to reciprocate. And that creates a positive cycle where people feel connected to each other and they amplify each other. So I recommend being very generous with liking other people's tweets. Sometimes people get a little stingy with liking things, and I'm just like, likes are free. It doesn't matter how many things you like. Just give people that little boost so then they feel like they're being heard. And you want to build some team spirit. I mean, the best communities on Twitter, there's like a real team spirit feel to them. So give, shout outs to people in your network. Highlight the good work that your CCL chapter is doing. When you praise your CCL teammates, tag them in your tweet. So then they'll see that you gave them this little shout out. You can create like little memes and inside jokes that your teammates can have fun with. Pick a hashtag that your teammates can share, so then they can find each other's tweets, just like we did today with the climate Twitter training hashtag. Like you could be like, we're a team Charlottesville, some unique fun hashtag that you can all share. And you might be wondering, what is a meme? So a meme is a humorous image, video, piece of text, etc. that is copied, often with slight variations, and spread rapidly by internet users. That is the official definition of a meme.
Did you make this meme, Stephanie?
I did not. This is actually a meme that CCL tweeted the other day, and it was pretty funny.
Whoever's in charge of CCL social media has really been on a roll.
Yeah, I like it. So this is a Baby Yoda meme. So yeah, have fun with it. Do funny things like this. And you know, you can start a chain. So like, you know, we tweeted out a message like, we're ready for climate action, we're ready for a carbon dividend. How about you? And then we tagged 5 of our friends. And then, you know, we said, if you're ready, tweet this message and tag 5 friends. So
That's great.
this is a way to sort of like kind of pump up your team, and everybody's like tweeting the same thing and tagging all their friends, and then they're tagging their friends, and then, you know, so then it can kind of, you know, it's kind of like a big wave, you know,
Becomes
a team
contagious.
here. So, you know, keep it social and like kind of cheer each other on. So, what I'd like you to do, actually, since I want to make sure we finish on time, I want to make sure that everybody who has tweeted the hashtag climate Twitter training, I want everyone to like reply to each other with a high 5 GIF. And I'm gonna, you know, we're a team, and I want to just high 5 everyone who is part of our team. So I'm gonna do this too. So I'm gonna look up climate Twitter training, and I'm gonna give Charlottesville a high 5. Yeah, Charlottesville.
Woohoo!
Wow. That's
Okay.
I got that lady.
High 5 for Steve.
Yeah, I've got all that.
It's just kind of like a fun thing. So, you know, it feels good when people just like give some positive, you know.
I don't want that. Not much longer.
All right, so I'll come back and give everyone else their high 5s after the training, but you get the idea that we just want to pump each other up and, you know, create a positive space where people feel, you know, that they have other people on their team who are, you know, supporting them. So second strategy is, you know, of course, once you're building a community, but the real goal of your community is to spread your message and shape the narrative, right? You want to make sure that, you know, you have a goal in mind, right? So you want to get that message out there. So one thing that you want to do is something very handy. You want to be prepared to quickly amplify tweets from your favorite climate organizations or activists or other accounts that you think have an important message to share. So like I have an alert, I've turned on notifications for CCL's tweets. So when they tweet something, I immediately like and retweet it. So to turn on notifications, you go to their profile and then you hit that bell button, and I've selected, I get a notification whenever they tweet anything. And why does that matter? Twitter's algorithm really favors tweets that get lots of engagement like early. Twitter is very biased towards what's new. So the more quickly a tweet gets likes and retweets, the faster it's going to spread and appear on other people's timelines. And so if you wait like a day or two to engage with a tweet, it's not going to go as far because it's already kind of old news. you also, I recommend following and engaging reporters respectfully, but reporters, they pay a lot of attention to Twitter and they may not want to admit it, but they are kind of influenced by what they see on Twitter. And so follow reporters, local reporters and opinion columnists as well. And you might want to like make sure they know, like, hey, this thing happened. Like, so for example, recently, Washington State passed the most ambitious carbon pricing policy in the country. And it weirdly like was silent. No one was tweeting about this. Like, so a lot of people didn't even really know it happened until a few days later. Now imagine if we had like a huge group of people who immediately were like amplifying that news when it happened. Then it would have gotten a lot more media attention because they would have been like, whoa, this really huge thing happened. And, maybe it would have gotten more buzz in the press, right? And sometimes you'll read an article that kind of you feel like got the story wrong. It misframed information. It, kind of left out a big, one side of the story. You can kind of give some feedback to the author of the article by tagging them in your tweet and being like, hey, I think you kind of didn't consider this factor, Try to be respectful about it, but this is a good way to, Twitter is a good tool for giving feedback to journalists. Some CCL chapters organize tweet storms. These are, so they like pick a specific day and time where they have all their volunteers tweet at the same time and using the same hashtag. So then by tweeting and retweeting each other in this like concentrated burst, their tweets can travel a lot further. And if you have a really big tweet storm, it's possible to get a hashtag to trend. That's really hard. You really need like a huge group of people to do this at once, but it's possible. And if a hashtag trends, then like a lot of people will see the hashtag then.
Stephanie, this is a way that I've heard of Twitter making a difference, and it was youth in climate activists, and maybe a lot of it was involved with CCL youth, and they did this climate thunderclap, and they all tweeted at one time to businesses that are sort of like, yeah, we support the climate, but they weren't. They were kind of being neutral and laying low, and in so a whole bunch of people tweeted them at one time, and he started calling them out, and they got embarrassed. The company's like, oh, hey, wait, we're getting negative recognition for our not taking a stand, and it kind of pushed them. In a lot of companies, they moved a lot of companies that way because it was embarrassing for them. So I think that would be interesting if we could do that for Virginia, if we could find things, because I don't really probably won't.
Nancy Hendrickson.
I probably won't really connect to the community, but I could participate in something like that. So anyway, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely people have come up with all kinds of interesting ways to have organized all kinds of actions like that, and you'd be surprised what sorts of results. I mean, nobody wants to get, I generally don't like to do negative sort of negative campaigning, but sometimes it is effective. So you want to, you also want to communicate your message in different ways. If you're just like kind of tweeting the same like message over and over again, that's not going to go very far because people are going to get kind of bored with it, and you're going to get bored with it too. So get creative with how you communicate your message, frame it in different ways, try connecting it with current events or topics that are trending. Just mix it up and show some personality. And in CCL Virginia, we actually have a social media committee that meets once per month to brainstorm content ideas. We look at upcoming events and holidays to kind of figure out when we want to schedule certain messages. And some of our volunteers are really crafty, and they're really good at making graphics. We actually, so this graphic here that you're seeing was created by one of our volunteers it's sort of our thank you GIF for when members of Congress co-sponsor the Growing Climate Solutions Act. If you'd like to learn how to make GIFs, we have a training actually. I'll send you the slides after this training. So then you can watch, like if you want to learn how to make GIFs, we have a training for that. And, finally, like the most important way to spread your message is to hype up people who are echoing your message. So like imagine if a representative, every time they tweeted something nice about our, HR 2307, they got 1,000 likes and retweets, that would make them feel good, right? They want their tweets to get lots of traction, just like everyone else. So, then their office will want to kind of tweet about it more, right? If it gets so much positive reaction. So show lots of love to tweets that you agree with. And then you'll want to build bridges to other communities as well. And get out, this goes back to the question about getting out of your bubble. Really branch out to your other interests and hobbies. So we all have other things outside of climate that we're interested in. Really embrace that. If you like knitting, maybe there's a knitting community on Twitter that you can plug into. Maybe there's every sports team has like a fan base and has fans on Twitter. Connect with them. If you're a person of faith, your faith community, they're probably members of your faith community on Twitter as well. So the more you kind of lean into these other parts of your life, that's going to help you be a better climate advocate as well and spread your message to more people. You'll follow Grasstops leaders and groups that you want to connect with. It's a good networking tool. So if like a group that you want to connect with tweet something, you can like it, retweet it, and like reply to them and say, oh, this is really interesting that you're working on this. I'd love to talk to you about it. And you can even send, like if you feel like you've reached a point where they wouldn't mind you direct messaging them, you could direct message them so you can have a private, discussion with them. Lists are a handy way to find and follow members of other communities. So just as an example, let's say I want to build connections with the Virginia wine industry. I found an account called Virginia Wine. It seems to have a pretty big following. I can see what lists this account is on. So lists are just lists of accounts that are all kind of related in some way. So I click on these three dots up here. I pull up this menu and I look lists they're on. So anyone can create lists. And then you can see, just scroll through and like a bunch of people have created lists with Virginia wine in the list. And I see a list called Virginia Wine Country. I think it looks interesting. It looks like it has kind of groups that I'd want to be following. So I can just hit that follow button on that list and I'll see tweets from any accounts that are on this list. So it's probably a lot of wineries in Virginia. So this is a very handy way of quickly finding and following lots of accounts that are, part of a particular community. And then finally, just, be curious, diversify the accounts you follow, try to get out of your bubble, find, there are all kinds of people on Twitter in every community. Try to follow some and all kinds. Just learn about them, learn about their perspective and what they care about. Also, take advantage of the information and expertise that's on Twitter. There are many scientists and policy experts and, you know, just all kinds of experts on Twitter, and they're usually really happy to share their knowledge and answer questions. So if you have a question, you can just like tweet a question and tag some people who have expertise in that area, and then maybe they'll reply to you. Often they're, you know, I do this a lot actually, where I read an economic study or something, and then I tweet at the economist who created it, and I'm like, just, you know, I ask them a question to clarify something in the study. All right, any questions about, actually, we'll hold off on doing questions now. I'm gonna go through the rest of the slides, and then we can do, if we have time, we can do a final round of questions, or I can stay back like after the training's over and folks can ask me questions, just so we end on time. So what are some limits and pitfalls of Twitter? I would say Twitter is not a good tool for persuasion. It's mainly useful for recruiting and mobilizing people who largely agree with you already. Like we're like sort of inclined to agree with you. And it's helpful for showing grassroots support for your agenda. But if somebody feels like negatively, like actively negatively about your cause, you're probably not going to persuade them through a Twitter conversation. The really best way to sort of flip people to your side is through face-to-face, one-on-one conversations and building long-term relationships. And that's like not really something Twitter is good at. So this is a good tool for mobilizing, and you know that's important, but the really, really hard work still has to be done sort of in those face-to-face difficult conversations. Misinformation can spread like wildfire on Twitter. You know, there's the famous quote from Mark Twain, "A lie can travel halfway around the world, while the truth is, you know, putting on its shoes." That is, I mean, a lie doesn't just travel halfway around the world, it travels all the way around the world in a minute on Twitter. So you kind of have to be on your guard, and it's going to be tempting to like want to retweet something that is shocking, right? But maybe something was taken out of context and it's not actually as bad as it seems. So you have to kind of pause and hold yourself back and verify, like, has a news source verified this information before sharing it? And you know, often well-meaning people accidentally help spread misinformation on social media. So, you know, if you see a Twitter account spreading harmful misinformation or conspiracy theories, the best thing to do is to just block them. And, you know, if they're kind of threatening violence or they're being abusive, you know, report them as well. Don't reply to them. Don't try to like tell them off or anything, because any engagement you give to that tweet is going to make the tweet spread faster. It's kind of because Twitter's algorithm favors tweets that get a lot of engagement. Twitter's not paying attention to if people hate the, you know, like are angry at the tweet. Any good or bad attention you're giving to the tweet will make it spread faster. So, block. You know, occasionally you'll get climate change deniers replying to your tweets. Just block them. Don't try to argue with them. It's not, you're just gonna like accidentally spread their misinformation. And you know, the biggest pitfall of Twitter is that it can be very toxic and polarizing. I mean, this is the consequence of having, you know, posts being 280 characters. You kind of lose a lot of nuance and context, and people kind of flatten out into like caricatures, right? So you kind of lose sight of people's humanity on Twitter. So the important thing is to build and nurture a healthy community on Twitter, and encourage honesty and empathy and inclusion. So just be careful not to fall into the toxic trap and just like get into this really negative headspace of demonizing other people and things like that, because that's really easy to do on Twitter. All right, so in this last 4 minutes we have, does anyone have any questions about what we covered today?
Stephanie, I have a question. Sometimes I get depressed because I try for this other group, this Money Out Virginia, getting money out of politics. I put up posts and then hardly anybody retweets them. Maybe I'll get 5 likes and a couple retweets. I mean, it gets really discouraging after a certain time. And then could you go back to your message on balancing your personal tweet with your issue Twitter system?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty tough to, it's pretty tough as an official account to reach people and like bring them into your community, because you're, an official account isn't a real person. It doesn't have interests and hobbies and other ways to connect with people, right? So using your own personal account, it can be a very powerful way to bring people into your cause, because there are people who might they might care about money and politics, but it might not be sort of top of mind for them, but maybe they have something else in common with you. Like you both, love some sort of team or something. So then maybe that can be the initial point of connection. And then when they follow you, they also see that you're tweeting about money and politics, and that can become like, oh, then they think about it more. And if you're liking their tweets, then maybe they're going to feel more like they want to reciprocate. They want to show you that they appreciate you too. So then they start liking your tweets about money and politics. So that's kind of how you can kind of build a following of people who are liking your tweets and retweeting you. It's really about that community building, and it's that, the starting point may not be climate for people. It might be something else about you that creates a connection.
I also find, oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Stephanie how many times she tweets a day.
It varies, but yeah, it's like multiple times a day. I mean, from our CCL Virginia account, we tweet maybe once or twice a day. From my personal account, it can vary a lot, but sometimes I'll tweet 5 times a day. Sometimes I'll tweet once a day. So there's kind of no limit.
I was just going to add, Nancy, that when I have that problem and I'm not getting as much response as I'd like to my tweets, I take a good look at them, and sometimes I find that I'm tweeting things to groups that have similar interests and support similar issues. And my tweets aren't, and I'm not accusing you of this, but my tweets might be presenting the information in a way that is pretty easily available, pretty readily available. I find I get most excited about, and my followers get most excited about, when I present something from a new source with a different perspective, or something that's presented a little more creatively. But like if I just retweet something I saw in the Washington Post, most of the people I know read the Post anyway, a lot of people. So that's just something to think about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think varying up how you're getting your message, like how you're framing your message, and sometimes it's like sometimes it pays to be very subtle about mentioning your message. So you could have like a tweet thread about some interesting topic, and then the last tweet in the thread is, and this is how it relates to this thing, and then you can kind of tuck your message in to that last tweet, like, if you're interested in getting involved, join CCL. Maybe the thread is about, agricultural emissions or something. So then that kind of draws people in, like they want to learn about agricultural emissions. And then once they get to the bottom of the thread, then you have a plug for CCL. So that's, kind of getting creative with like how you, send your message out into the world can help a lot. All right, so I'm gonna go back, and if so one last task that I'd love for folks to do, sorry, we're just a touch over, but after this training's over, reply to the tweet you wrote earlier in the training, and this will create a thread, and you can describe something you learned today, something that was interesting to you. And thank you all so much. If we would love to welcome you on our social media committee. So if you're interested in joining, put your name in the chat and I'll add you to that group, so you'll get invitations to our monthly meetings. There are